It's my honor to take you. I'm here to help you, my bro.
That's good.
Exactly. Every people say, your fate is your fate.
That's right.
Nobody can heal nobody.
That's right.
Know yourself, my brother. And let's go.
After years of living with diabetes, Brian Kaido is heading to surgery to have half his foot removed.
See you later, Brian.
See you, Roy.
As a diabetic, it is one of the risks a patient runs. Infected limbs that won't heal.
I'll send your lunch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your lunch will come back.
Thank you, Roy.
Brian's body is struggling to heal an abscess on his foot because his blood vessels have narrowed, restricting blood flow to his feet.
Brian, unfortunately, has been in hospital now for 5 months. He's had multiple complications from his diabetes and leg ulcers.
Throughout the world, it is estimated that every 30 seconds a leg is amputated. 85% are related to a diabetic foot ulcer.
Oh, you can come through.
He also has a secondary problem of poor blood supply to the leg. Unfortunately, this has been culminated in 8 procedures that he's had over the last 5 months, and now the ulcers have caused septic episodes, so blood poisoning.
This might be it.
Exactly.
So I think that type 2 diabetes is an absolute catastrophe worldwide. This is probably the greatest health catastrophe of this century.
A father of 4, Brian was a busy social worker, but had to give up work because of type 2 diabetes.
You don't think about diabetes when you first get it, so I didn't. Seldom went to doctor's appointments that I was supposed to go to, never took any medication. Now, lots of regrets. 5 weeks ago, I was admitted into hospital because I had a hypoglycemic episode. Just about went for good.
Brian's now been in hospital for months with an infection his body is battling to overcome.
Come in.
Hey, Ryan.
Hello, Patricia.
Okay.
It's
So you know
that
why
time.
I'm here, eh?
Yes,
Yeah?
you're going to take my dressing down.
Yes, so the doctor can have a look.
Unfortunately, this is one of the things that can happen. You can very slowly start getting amputations. My leg is lighter now. Oh, yeah, can put the dressing back on. So I've got all these things showing up on my hands, and if they can't find out what's causing that, and they start to swell and get infected, then I'll start losing fingers as well. Just got to hope that this all heals up nicely, and then I can keep my foot. If they can't bring any of this infection in control and it continues to start wasting my limbs, they have no option but to remove my legs.
So we'll be coming in
Later.
probably even now and then to put some more saline on.
Okay, yep.
250,000 New Zealanders live with diabetes. Māori and Pacific people are 3 times more likely to develop diabetes than other ethnic groups in New Zealand, and 5 times more likely to die from type 2 diabetes.
As a problem that we as society are grappling with, we're just not doing it with any sense of urgency whatsoever.
What's more, it's estimated that a further 100,000 Kiwis may have the disease, but not know it. So what is type 2 diabetes? Diabetes is a chronic condition that affects the way the body processes blood sugar, or glucose, resulting in damagingly high levels of glucose in your blood. Most of our glucose comes from carbohydrates, or sugar. And it's sugar we are overdosing on.
The reality is we only need about a teaspoon of sugar to maintain our blood sugar at the right level, and the rest gets stored in our muscles and liver. But the problem is because we eat too much of it, it goes to the liver and it gets converted into fat.
But diabetes doesn't just hit obese people. 20% of patients aren't overweight.
People may well be what we call thin on the outside and fat on the inside, or toffees, that mean that they appear relatively slim for their actual body fat and their key organs.
The effect of type 2 diabetes on the body is shocking.
What happens is you put on weight, particularly abdominal weight, weight around your gut, visceral fat, and then this sort of tips over and it starts to fill up the liver and the pancreas. And when these two organs stop talking to each other, that's when you have serious problems with insulin levels, and therefore you tip over into type 2 diabetes. This is not a benign disease.
High levels of sugar in the blood, or sugary blood going around the system, damages the blood vessels. Both very small blood vessels, like in the eyes and the kidneys and the feet, suffer, as well as medium-sized arteries in the heart and in the brain, because these arteries, it's a bit like rust is to pipes. Sugary blood tends to cause little blockages in the small blood vessels and also hemorrhages. And we have the medium-sized blood vessels like the heart and the brain that can also have blockages, and leading to heart attacks and strokes.
Genetics play a part in diabetes. Brian's son Joseph is aware he too could be at risk.
Like maybe a year and a half ago, it was like 130 or something like that, and now I'm like 220. So it was like, oh hell, I don't feel good. It's just a lot harder to do things, just having energy-wise. Yeah, I'm used to being big. Like, it doesn't worry me too much, but I know in the long run it's going to be a big effect on me. Especially with I got young kids, and then I got one on the way.
No, Mummy packed you for lunch today? What? You got polony.
Joseph's sister, Charmaine, also shares the same risk.
I don't want to go back.
Within families, the biggest link in the diabetes chain is the tendency to have a similar diet and lifestyle.
I'm not really healthy at the moment. Being naughty, eating bad foods. I'm not doing sports anymore. Just being a bit lazy at the moment. It is a bit hard for me to stay healthy as I can. You know, just paying your way, and it's quite hard. I just want to live a better life. Being a mum, you're always like on your toes and you have to do all these things, and you don't really find the time to cook a healthy meal all the time. So it is quite easy just to go get takeaways or whatever.
With his stay in hospital stretching from weeks to months, family visits are Brian's only highlight.
Oh, hello, honey. Missed you.
Missed you too. Got you some oranges.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Sorry, I'm in a bit of pain at the moment. I've got a pain pump to help me get rid of it.
Brian's diabetes is not only taking an emotional toll on him, but also his family.
He's struggling with it. Growing from a fit, healthy man just downhill straight away, I think maybe he's a bit shamed about it. And he told my brother that he doesn't think he'll make it.
I know he's in a lot of pain. I have moments as well, just think about it, but no, we're quite I don't know, just kind of brush it off kind of thing, eh? I'm not as sensitive as I should be, although I am. I'm not at the same time, you know. I don't know, we always laugh about it, and, you know, it's always, go talk to Dad, you know, just take the so I guess, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
He still tries to act like he's okay. He always has a sense of humour, he's always laughing. Yeah, but his fire is strong. I don't think he cares about that anymore.
I'd had enough, to be quite honest. Yeah. I called all my sons in, and I told them, they argued a bit, and they, come on, Dad, I said, and I apologised to them that I was not as strong as they thought I was. And they told me I was, but I said, nah. I said, I can't do this anymore. I said, it's just too hard. Just too damn hard. I can't do it. My daughter heard what I was telling her brothers, and she come into, that was it. I didn't have a chance after that, you know. I can't see my daughter weep or anything. It's just putty in my hand. I'm putty in her hands when she does that, but I tried to resist, and I argued with her, and I told her, tried to make her understand where I was at, and she didn't want nothing to do with that. She was like, nah, I'm not ready to let you go there, and she just squeezed the heck out of me. She just kept squeezing me, just kept on doing it, wouldn't let me go.
I just told Dad, please don't go, I don't want you to go. And he said he can't do it. And I just kept asking him, and he said, when my brother's left, okay, daughter.
The availability of cheap, processed fast food is the leading driver of this epidemic.
I'm sure you've heard of the bliss point, and it is to that formula that the packaged food and the processed food is created, to get that best amount of added fat, added sugar, added salt. So this is highly palatable, hyper-palatable. And so what do you expect? They've worked out how to exploit our physiology. Unhealthy diets and obesity are now our biggest risk for disease in this country, and they're just driving obesity upwards. And that is going to be our biggest health problem now and into the future.
I reckon the reason why there's such an epidemic of diabetes, type 2 in particular now, when I was a child, we didn't have access to as many fast foods as we have access to now. You know, I'm guilty of it. I brought up my kids on McDonald's and fish and chips and Georgia pie. It's the economic accessibility of it for me. And they do tend to stay in the, quite a lot of them, more in the lower socioeconomic areas because they know, you know, keep your food range nice and cheap and we'll buy it.
The good news is diabetes is preventable, but shifting people away from cheap, nutrient-deficient food is a challenge.
We're simply overwhelmed by temptation. It's not that we don't know what we need to be eating. If you go and tap the shoulder of anybody standing on a queue in Burger King or McDonald's and say, do you think this food is healthy? No one's going to say, yes, I'm sure this is what we should be eating. Everyone knows what they should be eating. They're just not eating it. There is no way that people in this environment are going to be able to sustain long-term weight loss while they live in this world which is awash with energy-dense food.
I don't think people are to blame. It's a complex interaction between the biology, society, the food and nutrition system we have, the environment we live in. The world has changed. Our biology has not changed. We're mismatched to the modern world. And while there is a tendency to think that even in adults, it's all about voluntary choice and behaviour, it's not as simple as that. There's a lot of biological drivers which are set up early in life, which are hard for people to change.
I'm the most impulsive buyer out. I'm an impulsive marketeer's dream. You put it near the checkout, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to go, flip, I need that.
Like they moan about people being overweight and da-da-da-da-da, and oh no, we spend so much money on all these people with diabetics, and but let's go put another fish and chip shop over here. And we'll put another KFC up over there. So we can't just leave that as a gas station and make it a gas station and a Burger King. It's like, yay, more junk food.
Takeaways aren't the only issue. The processed foods we buy from supermarkets are culprits too.
People don't really know where sugar's coming from. I mean, it's really easy to look at a fizzy drink and a bag of lollies and say, oh, I don't eat that. I don't eat a lot of sugar. My diet doesn't contain a lot of sugar. I eat healthily. But what they don't realise is that all the packaged processed foods that they might have in their diet contain sugar. And because reading labels is so incredibly difficult, and we're constantly coming up with different ways of trying to guide people, the reality is that it's hard work, and people are getting a lot of sugar from a lot of places that they would have no idea. We're seeing our obesity rate in children skyrocket. We're seeing diabetes in children as well. So, you know, it's not a specific population group that we need to target here. It's everyone. It's the food supply for everyone.
As he slowly recovers from the amputation of half his foot, Brian's doctor has more sobering news.
And he looked at me very, very solemn-like, and then told me that he apologised. It wasn't easy for him to say, but it looked like they'd have to remove my leg.
When I was training, a lot of the disease was smoking-related, some diabetes-related, but now it's almost universally diabetes-related. We do see major amputations once every fortnight, and it's mostly diabetes-related.
Here's your signature. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Knowing he will lose his leg to diabetes, Brian once more heads to surgery.
Hi, Brian.
Hello.
I'll just come up to the room with you.
Okay.
All right.
You have to deal with a whole lot of medical issues related to the condition, but you carry with it some stigma associated with I have brought this on myself. The other problem that I have is when people describe this as a lifestyle disease, which of course is an absolute nonsense. Of course people's personalities haven't deteriorated over a 30, 40-year period, but there's no doubt that our physical environment has.
The issue of individual responsibility is a big one because it's pushed very hard by the food industry, it's pushed very hard by governments, and people take it on board. People think, gosh, well, if I'm fat, then it's all my fault.
With his father's condition deteriorating, Joseph is determined to take a step toward a healthier lifestyle.
I wanted to go to the gym and all that, but I know I'll just go home and just start munching like crazy. So I know once I start my eating and just cut down pretty much, it'll be a lot more easier to try and make those steps in bettering myself. If I eat a lot more healthier, then I'll get the more energy, then I'll get more motivation to go to the gym, start walking around. It's hard to eat healthy because it's time-consuming, you know? It's easy to just fry a steak and some eggs, but to actually stand there and peel the fruit, cut the lettuce. It's just all convenience, just like with life. They'll sell you a big bottle of Coke for $3, but then they'll sell you a little 600ml for like $4 because it's convenient. So yeah, eating's all about convenience, patience. Suss that out, you'll be all good.
Like there's a lot of pressure on the wound?
It's been several weeks since Brian's left leg was amputated, but now he's anxious about the health of his other leg.
All right, let's just have a look at this foot. I don't want to peel any skin off with it, but this is just rubbish.
There's no skin in there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remain optimistic that's going to heal. The blood supply is not great, but it's good enough to heal it.
So basically what you're saying is we got a risk of this amputation happening to this leg in the long run.
Yeah, I have to be honest with you, there is a risk of that, yeah. And this leg's even more important now.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be key to your independence.
Alone in his room, Brian stares at his amputated leg in dismay.
I was talking to my son this morning, and he goes, "Are you all right, Dad? You're going to be all right, eh, Dad? You know? I mean, you'll be all right, eh? You can handle this." And, you know, I can't say, no, I can't handle it, son. No, I'm not all right. You know, he doesn't want to hear that. So I can't say that. I can't say I'm shitting myself. I'm scared crackless. I feel so guilty if they were to actually see how I felt. They don't prepare you for that when you become a parent and all that. You just, you know, all I did was just love my kids and, oh man.
Type 2 diabetes doesn't have to be a chronic illness, and if caught early, the symptoms can be managed. A simple diabetic test will reveal those with the disease or on the path to it.
Better to heed the warning now than later, eh?
That's right, very good, okay? So
I know it's a pretty severe condition that most Pacific and Māori people suffer with. Yeah, it's something that we can prevent. You know, I know that much about it, yeah.
A lot of people think because it's in the family, they don't have to do anything about it. They think, oh, okay, my family's got it, I'll just leave it at that. If I get diabetes, I get it. They don't understand they can make there are stages and there are steps that they can take to lower their risk of developing diabetes.
Here we go, hang on to there.
Ropata is not diabetic, but with excess weight and high blood pressure, the risk is high. So he's sent for further tests.
Yeah, I feel sorry for my family members that are, you know, suffering with diabetes. Something that I'd like to prevent, to be able to be around for my children. I've hit 30, so it's sort of a, you know, point in my life where I'm thinking, man, I have to do something either now or never.
Brian's son, Joseph, is determined to change. First his diet, and now joining a gym dedicated to helping people with type 2 diabetes.
203.6. We've lost a bit, so that's good.
How heavy were you before?
225.
225.
Yeah.
Good work, bro. Let's go upstairs and let me show you around and let's have a catch up.
Sweet, sweet.
And this is what we find with our Māori Polynesian people, is that they tend to look after everyone else and not themselves. Their own health is not a priority. And we'll find that not only with yourself, but with your parents. It's the job to look after your children and the job to look after everyone else around them is bigger than them. If we don't change that philosophy of life, then our children will end up like us. And they can't. Otherwise, they're going to die early.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my brother, it has to start with you.
Yeah.
There's got to be a leader in the family, and someone's got to lead them out of this.
Just got to do it.
Yeah. You good with that?
Yeah, no, good. That's cool, that's cool.
If our food is the problem, then what is the solution?
We know what needs to happen in terms of changing the environment. It's how to change it in a way that is cost-effective, politically acceptable, socially acceptable, culturally acceptable, and gets the buy-in of society as a whole. Turns out to be bloody difficult.
Indeed. For Brian, hope is running out.
WFK4891.
91. There we go.
And you get lots of bugs when you're on dialysis. And so I had a bug in my blood, and that bug had settled into this infection in my hip, and as a consequence, I couldn't walk anymore. They sort of got that all under control, and it started coming right, and they said, but unfortunately, and they looked at one of my toes, And they said, that toe needs to go. They say that once the surgeons begin to chop, it's pretty hard for them to stop after that. So now I'm desperately trying to keep it under control and trying to hang on to these little tiny limbs I have left. Not on the winning side of that battle, I'm afraid.
Why should we be setting up society to make it so hard for people to choose healthy food?
I think that people should be outraged not only against the industry that's making us sick, because, to be honest, we probably buy most of our unhealthy food from the supermarket, so I don't point my finger just at the fast food industry.
A month after his operation, Brian's condition worsened. The infection caused by type 2 diabetes returned.
Hopefully the antibiotics are getting rid of the infected tissue and I get to keep this trying to hang on to this now. I didn't want this to happen in the first place. I didn't come into hospital to have anything taken off my body. Now I'm stuck here with this, having to face another possible amputation.
I'm sure that people who have lived their lives themselves with the diabetes that ends up in amputation and heart attacks and blindness and so on, would not wish that on their children. But they're not exactly marching in the streets demanding the actions from the food industry and the government to create those changes in society so that their children don't get it. They're not marching in the streets. So why is that?
I've often thought a lot about my mortality, more so after I've had these episodes in hospital where I've had to be revived. Just having a family that you love and want to be with does incredible things for your mind when you're hurting and when you're in pain, and that distraction of just thinking about the love and the bond that you have between your children and your grandchildren, man, that's just been so intense for me lately.